10 years from today, Lisa Schneider will trade in her office job to become the leader of a pack of dogs. As the owner of her own dog rescue, that is. A second act made possible by the reskilling courses Lisa's taking now with AARP to help make sure her income lives as long as she does. And she can finally run with the big dogs. And the small dogs, who just think they're big dogs. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Learn more at aarp.org/skills.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are The Podcast. It's Gav and you join us in the beer garden of the Hilton Garden Inn, having a pint, sat with a couple of mates, and we're here to talk about the game. Johnny's with us. Hello, mate.
All right, Gav. Sun's out, pints are out, so I'm happy. We'll just forget about the football.
You're in the shade though. And our friends join us today, two voices that you haven't heard from in a while. We've got the Bromley twins, Phil and Grant, are with us. We've got Niall and Connor Bromley with us. Connor, how are you doing, mate? Long time no see.
I know, a long time no see, but I'm wondering, am I Phil or Grant?
Definitely Phil. I'm Grant all day long.
You're the hard case.
With that one,
I would agree with that. Phil's the pisshead who shags about in that.
Aye, does what he wants, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe I am Phil.
Right, well, we're here to talk about a game of football which wasn't exactly thrilling, but it wasn't too bad, I don't think. I think Sunderland played all right. There were some moments where we played some decent stuff, Connor, and I think it was nice to see Granit Xhaka in the sunshine. I just had to turn up and make sure it was real, you know.
Yeah, lovely to see Granit Xhaka. I thought he was probably the brightest spark in the game, to be honest. But I think there's positives and negatives. I mean, it's pre-season. We saw what happened in the Championship last year when we're not taking it seriously. Well, I know, kind of seriously, but not massively seriously. You can't read a lot into pre-season, but there is, I don't know, a couple of red flags. I feel like the attack's not fluid. I feel like, we're maybe short of experience up front. There's things that, you know, when we left the ground, we were discussing just being like, we're obviously nowhere near ready. And I do think there's glaring issues at centre-back that affected where at left-back today. Harrison Jones is not going to play in the Premier League and he's getting 90 minutes. So there was positives and negatives to take from it, but I think there is certainly a couple of very tepid red flags.
Did you agree, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, certainly on the defence, I think you're spot on. The left-back issue is obviously, it is now becoming quite a glaring problem, because if you've got Harrison Jones starting games at left-back at the start of pre-season, you go, we've got time, we'll address that problem. When you've got the lad you've brought in at left-back playing centre-back and he's still playing left-back, then you start to go a bit like, well, you know, we really could do with sorting that. But I thought the midfield especially were brilliant today. I mean, Sadiki, yet again, I thought had a great game. Some lovely touches, a couple of really nice times where he turned with the ball in like one motion and got us up the pitch, which I think is something that we've not seen from every midfielder that we've had over the past few years. You know, it's been a bit of a rare quality. So yeah, I agree with issues in the defence, but I thought Xhaka just looked a cut above, which was to be expected, wasn't it? I mean, some of the passes he was playing, you couldn't even see from the top of the stand. Never mind how he saw it on the pitch. But yeah, and look, I don't want to dig people out, but I thought Adingra in particular looked raw still on the left wing. You know, I thought he looked like he still needed a bit of time to connect with his teammates.
He had a couple of moments where you think, he's good, and then there's a couple of moments where you're pulling your hair up. But that's exactly what the Brighton fans told us about him, to be fair. So we're probably going to have to get used to that.
Yeah, 100%. A couple of touches where he'd like drag it inside and just leave a man completely for dead. And if you do that in the Premier League at the right time, you create a goal from it. So I'm not overly worried, but just another one along with, I think we've mentioned Mayenda a few times. We'd want him to get a goal. A few of them, you want them to have the confidence under the belt, and it's just not quite come yet. So hopefully it does. But yeah, really, really encouraged by the midfield, though. Yet again, I thought that those three were brilliant.
Yeah, it's true. And at the midfield, Niall, it's pretty much every pre-season game we've watched. It's been, you just come in, you're purring about the midfield, and then we've added Granit Xhaka into the mix. But it's true, you can't help but come away and think that was where the strength in the team was.
Well, the thing with Xhaka is as well, it wasn't just when he was on the ball, off the ball, he was marshalling everybody. He was all game, he would never shut up. All game, you seen him pointing, you're telling players where to go. And that's probably what he's been brought in for. In fact, it more definitely is what he's been brought in for. I thought that, as these lads have said, he dictated it. He did what he wanted. He was fantastic. His passing was superb. and that's only going to get better from where he beat the first man from a corner as well, which is obviously nice to see.
Rare, that, innit?
Yeah, very rare, but nice to see. So yeah, I was impressed that when you said before about a Dingwall looking raw, I thought that about Talby as well. I thought he didn't, there was a few people say he didn't want to take people on.
He looked nervous again, didn't he? There's a few times he was on the ball and again he was looking inside or backwards instead of looking forwards, which, look, you can't blame him, can you? He's nervous, he's come to a new country, a new team, but you want to see that worked on between now and Christmas, say.
And it's not just that. I think, like Connor said it in the ground, we don't know if he's been told to sort of, don't commit too much.
Yeah.
That's, we don't know what they've been told behind closed doors. You don't know. So, I mean, as you said, there's a lot of bright spots. I think he's obviously got talent. There was one of the times when his first touch was incredible.
He brought it down inside, didn't he? And beat the man immediately with one touch and then laid one off. And you think, yet again, it's one of those, if you do that in the Premier League, takes 3 or 4 of those a season, you've made 3 or 4 goals and maybe won us 8 points. So it's all going to be about the fine margins this season, I think, because a lot of these players, the reason that they've come to Sunderland is because they are raw and need some experience. So we've got to hope that those moments come off when we as a team need them to come off in those tight games. But encouraging signs, I did think. But yeah, certainly still some things to work on.
That's what you
So I don't know what you think about this, but and I've asked a couple of lads in the chat who were watching back home, but we had a perfectly good goal ruled out. I can't remember who scored it, by the way, but was it a Dingwall? Was any? So where were you all sat? Because I was in the southwest corner, so I was nowhere near the player, really.
Same. I didn't.
So where were you?
Just west stand towards southwest, like.
Right.
So I can pretend I could see it, but I would be bullshitting.
To be honest, the main thing is the people who are watching back home said there was nothing wrong with it. It was onside.
That line flagged about 4 or 5 offside that looked to me in real time like they were about 2 or 3 yards on. Like he was very flag happy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all to watch that back and see that he was onside.
And luckily we've got VAR next season, so we just had the screen. It would be fine.
That's a point. And also their goal, I think. The corner that won, I think he was offside.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. The complete opposite of the other linesman, the one down that end, he couldn't lift his flag for love nor money. He was given nothing. But to be honest, though, I thought the fact that we conceded the goal, not ideal, but as you say, maybe offside. And even then, it was a nice little ball in, but it was a free header, but not one of those where you go, the defence have switched off and let him have 5 yards of space. It was just decent ball and decent header by a good team. It was the kind of goal that you can forgive.
I felt bad for Wakiba because I thought Wakiba actually looked very, very good. There was one where he came for a cross and I think the whole stadium was like, oh, we've needed a bit of this. It was like
someone who leaves the line.
Yeah. Patterson, even in the playoffs at Coventry, was coming off his line, but it was clumsy. He was clearing things but it was messy. It wasn't clean. This guy, I think he just oozes a bit of confidence in there, and I thought he looked all right with his feet. I was very impressed with our goalkeeper. I think we've signed in typical sort of Sunderland fashion. When we've been in the Premier League, we've generally always had good goalkeepers. I think we've got a good goalkeeper here. So I was happy to see that he looked like he just fit in straight away, and I think that's a good sign of what was it, 9 million or 10 million quid.
Well, we were talking on the preview, Johnny, about the quality in their squad, right? And you look at the roundup. I mean, Isco got clapped off. The Sunderland fans were loving him. He was, but. I think even then, for the majority of the game, we controlled the tempo. I thought we very rarely give the ball away. There was obviously a few slack passes, but for a pre-season game, I thought the tempo was sharp. We moved it quickly. I think Xhaka had a lot to do with that. I think Granit Xhaka, I'm going to love him. I just tell. Yeah. But at the same time, Noah Sadiki, when you're trying to work out what's the midfield going to be, again, on the preview, me and you were like, well, are we going to see the midfield that's going to start in the Premier League from now? And I was a little bit surprised not to see Enzo Lafay. What do you reckon, Niall? Do you reckon we can read anything into that? That maybe Lafay was on the bench, or were they just managing his minutes? I mean, it's a difficult one.
We spoke about this, and it is strange because because you can't start Lafay, Diarra, Sadiki, and Xhaka. I don't think. Is there any way you can get them four?
Unless you play a diamond.
Yeah.
Aside from that,
I just think it's going to be a struggle to get all the M4 into the team. It is the Premier League. We are going to get injuries. There is going to be rotation. Which one of them drops out? I would have said Sadiki. Initially, that would have been my thought, because I think...
Do you know what it is, though, just to butt in? He's been the one who's impressed me the most.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So it's I don't know anymore. I mean, because Diarra, to be fair, I thought Diarra was actually very good today, and I thought the game, when he went off, that was when the game changed. The game kind of died when he went off. I thought he was very good in a lot of ways, but I don't know. It's very hard to. I wouldn't read into that. I don't think that tells you that Lefebvre is not going to be starting. I think he will start, but I just think it's going to have to be a rotation game. I don't know what I think.
And just on Diarra as well, I actually thought it was really interesting the position that he played, because he basically played that furthest forward role in the midfield, didn't he? The kind of role that Rigg was playing a lot last season, where off the ball you look up and he's actually alongside the centre forward, pushing up and pressing and harrying the defenders and stuff, whereas I would have probably expected to see Diarra a lot deeper in the Premier League by and large, and you would have thought that it would be Lefebvre who's the one who's further up. So I thought it was interesting to see that Lebris was so willing to just kind of chuck the three in midfield into whatever roles are available, and he's more bothered about who's on the pitch.
Are we not like mimicking what we had at the start of last season, where like Dan Neil was sitting, we had Job, we had Rigg, and Job and Rigg were like playing in the, I don't know what the thing is, but it was kind of like the advanced eights. I think that was the technical term.
But then they're almost second strikers, aren't they, by the time they've pushed that far
and
up
it feels
pitch.
to me like that's what we've done. We've sat Xhaka back, and then we've went, right, Diarra and Sadiki, or Diarra and Lefebvre, whoever it is that's going to be in there, they're going to be more advanced. But I also think we need to talk about, there's a bit of an elephant in the room for me. Dan Neil, Patrick Roberts didn't come on today.
Yeah,
I feel like,
especially, I think
I want to just get that in there. Like, I feel like people are probably listening, going, "Are we going to talk about that?" And I think we should. Like, it's telling to me. Yeah, Riggs injured. Xhaka starts as captain, right? So that is a little bit of a slap in the face of Dan Neil, isn't it?
It's a statement as well from Lebris, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a slap. Dan Neil hasn't been getting loads of minutes, and then today he doesn't get brought on when the other players get brought on. Same with Patrick Roberts. Patrick Roberts, I thought, why wouldn't you give him 20 minutes ahead of Talby to see? Because Patrick Roberts, to me, is able to play in the Premier League. I just think it's interesting that we don't have a game midweek.
Well, I presume it's because they're all going to start in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the thing. So I was thinking, Roberts, I would be less worried about, because I imagine he's probably going to either play the 90 against Augsburg or against Vallecano.
That's in a week, though. Like, why wouldn't you give them a chance today?
I agree. I think because someone else said that. I can't remember which player we were talking about. It wasn't Roberts. It might have been Dan Neil. We're saying, well, give him 20 minutes. I'm thinking, well, we've got another game coming up like in a week. But then I was like, that's a week, There's a long...
and as well, it's the Saturday-Sunday, not the Friday-Saturday. So you've got a full 7 days. You are right.
Well, I genuinely just think it's because we need to get 90 minutes into them to say, right, there's that next checkpoint done. You played 90 minutes.
But Dan Neil, though, hasn't been getting... Like, I feel like he's not had a lot of minutes for being a big player in that.
Well, he's the big one this summer, because I think the only game that he started was, I can't remember who, was it Hull maybe, but he started one of the games this pre-season. That's it. I think almost every other game he's come on off the bench. And like you say, Connor, I mean, today, not just to not start the game or not to come on at half-time, to not come on at all in the home friendly when you're the lad who just captained this team to this division last season, that's got to sting. I
think there's potential. I mean, this is me just spitballing, but like, I see Middlesbrough, it's like Hackney's not leaving Middlesbrough. I could see Ipswich looking at Dan Neil.
It's not a bad shout at all.
When you see the money involved, Niall, 15 million quid, I would be tempted. He's last year of his deal. I do like Dan Neil. My preference would be he signs a new contract and he stays. But there's clearly something that I've said this for weeks. We had a pod the other week, and Chris was kind of disagreeing with us and saying, "No, I think Daniel's still got a role to play here." And I'm just like, every sign's telling me that he's away.
I think it was optimism more than anything from Chris, like to say that Neil would stay, because we'd all love him, wouldn't we? You know, local lad was the captain in that. But
I think that's the thing. I'll be honest. This contract thing's obviously lingering in the background. Nobody knows what's going on. I think there's a good chance the club might have come in and offered him a deal. I know Connor said this earlier, but offered him a deal and maybe he's turned it down. And we are ruthless now in the way we do with things. We're very ruthless. You've seen that. Maybe they've said, right, no problem, we'll replace you. And it's a shame because we all love local players. We all love. But Connor also said this again. I just feel like I'm copying you.
That's fine. He's probably used to it, are you?
Probably. But earlier today, Xhaka made one right at the start of the game. Xhaka made a misplaced pass, and he was like, "If that was Dan Neil, the crowd are against him straight away," which is true.
Whereas somebody like Xhaka's not got that baggage against him, I suppose. Which again, if you're being ruthless and looking at playing in the top flight, you probably do want to try and make sure the crowd's on side as much as possible.
Did when the players were all, because there was a moment where there was like 5 or 6 warming up on the sideline, was Dan Neil one of them? Because I couldn't see him.
Wrong side for me.
I couldn't see him.
I don't remember seeing him. Like,
I didn't.
I was trying to work out who was there. I saw Alexic, I saw Roberts, Lafay. I didn't see Daniel. I don't know. It's just we need some clarity for him. I think we need.
Well, skits it over.
I know there's a wasp coming to get me beer. Go on, piss off. There's another one. His mate's come. But this could be a temporary end to the podcast. We're getting attacked. Fuck off.
I'm no good with wasps, mate, either. I'm horrendous. No, but you are right, though. We are at the point in pre-season now where it is getting to the stage where you're like, actually, we do need to hear something, because the longer this goes on, it is going to start casting a bit of a shadow over the start of the season. Let's say we get to West Ham and Neil's still here, but not getting on the pitch, and there's no communication, and Xhaka's the captain in the first game. In the Premier League, with the media apparatus around this club, that's going to get loud, that.
Can you imagine being Daniel watching Xhaka on the pitch today and just being like,
you'd be jealous, wouldn't you? Like, he can just do things without trying that I couldn't do in my wildest dreams.
You know, we were talking about this in the game. Like, you watch him, he's just everywhere. Like, everywhere. I always do this, and I say it. People are probably sick of us saying it. Like,
it's only pre-season.
It is. It's only pre-season. But, like, I'm watching him and I'm like, fucking hell, what a step up in class we've got there.
We signed him is all I could think when I was watching him play some of those passes behind the lines.
From the start, what is he actually doing here? I've got no idea why he's here.
He put that home top on today and looked down at it and went, what the fuck?
I think he's just said to his wife, you know, it is, I just fancy a bit banter. Let's just pick a random club. I just have no idea why he's here. Leverkusen didn't want him to go. Ten Hag didn't want him to go. He's coming here, and I mean, to be fair, he's loved already. I mean, his reception when his name got announced at the start of the game.
I liked as well, sorry to interrupt, but right at the end of the game, you notice all the players come off, and Xhaka just coincidentally was thanking the Betis players a bit longer than everybody else, and he was the last one off the pitch getting the applause from the whole home crowd on the way off. I was like, yeah, it's not your first rodeo, sunshine.
I mean, the thing is, if you look at what all our, like, we've all been through as supporters, I mean, we've gone from Josh Scowen to Granit Xhaka in 4 years.
Say it again.
So, I mean, it's true. So it's like, you can't blame people for being like, fucking hell, we've got Granit Xhaka, what the fuck? Like, it's always going to be like that. But, and like Gav says before, when you watch him and you watch his ability, we've not seen that here. We've not seen a player of his calibre here in yet. I can't even think the last player that was his calibre at this football club.
Lorixana wasn't that good with the ball. I mean, I like Lorixana, but he wasn't.
Lorixana was better at injuring people, definitely,
and being injured himself.
Well, that's
yes,
true.
and that as well.
Is there any concerns in terms of the only thing when I'm thinking like problems and that, and on another day their goal doesn't count because the offside's given, and ours does because the offside that was wrongly given doesn't get given. So no, on another day we could be sitting here talking about a 1-0 win, and the conversation's slightly different. But from an attacking perspective, there's just the fluidity's not quite there yet. But it's difficult to get too het up by that because,
the spells, though, there was moments in that game, especially in the first half.
That one where it went across the box, for instance, where it was a lovely little spell of play. Yeah. Who was it who put the ball across? I can't remember. Was it?
Say Sadiki.
Yes, it was. It was Sadiki. And it crept along the line. No, I don't think it was. It might be Mayenda,
I think it was Mayenda.
Yeah.
But I think Sadiki was second half, actually, you're right.
Yeah. So, but regardless, there was a couple of, like, with Saturday, I'm actually feeling quite positive because I thought some of the football we played was quite nice. And it's just that little bit, the finishing off at the other end where
the problem is, though, is that when it's the same thing we saw at the end of the season. When you are in a game that matters, it's life or death. It's not life or death. It's kind of life or death.
Yeah.
Those players maybe run that extra bit harder and go, do you know what? Like, I'm going to stick my leg out, stretch my leg further. Maybe I'll tweak a hamstring. And in pre-season, I'm not going to do that. But in a game, you do.
So. Well, and obviously, you look around the ground, there was 13,000 apparently in there today. 2.5 stands
but
empty.
It just looks shit when there's 2 empty stands, completely empty, doesn't it? Like, you're never going to fool a player into believing it's a competitive game.
When the West Ham game comes around, that stadium will be full and it's going to be rocking, and it's a different feeling. So there will be people who are like, there will be people slagging, oh, this player didn't play well, that didn't play well, blah, blah, blah. I just think I think if the end of last season has to teach us that you cannot be too het up by such situations. I mean, Lebris will be, he said at the end of the whole game, he was like, he wasn't happy with certain things. And, he was like, we need to improve on this, that and the other. I'm sure he won't be just going at any pre-season.
He's not oblivious, is he? Like, he knows that we need to step it up between now and the start of the season. He's not an idiot. But I think the only thing I would say, so I agree that there were definitely concerns, and we haven't looked fluid going forward, and we haven't created a load of chances. But I thought today, the links between the midfield and the wingers looked a lot better. There was bits of interplay between, say, Sadiki and Adingra, or Diarra, and there was bits and pieces of play down either side I thought looked good, and there was bits and pieces of play between either winger and Mayenda that looked all right. It's just getting everything hooked up together that's the problem.
We're not getting shots away, though, are we?
No,
how many shots?
That's
how many
it.
saves
Like,
they keep make today, apart from 2 rollers that came out of them.
and we're not managing to get Mayenda the ball in a shooting chance between the posts, and that's where he's deadly. But I do think previously in pre-season we haven't even got the ball into Mayenda, whereas at least today he was getting on the ball and he was doing things. He was trying to make things happen. Now, I know that sounds like grasping at straws, and it might be a bit overly positive, but there was definitely more there today going forward than there has been in the last couple of weeks, which I think is what you want to see as you go through pre-season.
Do you think the club is happy going forward if we get Gio, I don't know how you say his name, from Chelsea?
Gio.
If we get Gio in, so you're talking Isidore, Mayenda, Gio are going to be our strikers. Are the club going to be satisfied? I wish this wasp would this.
Are you going to be satisfied if that wasp doesn't fuck up?
Niall, it's gone. It's all right. Sit down, mate. You're all right.
I'll finish your point since you're just copying me the whole time.
I'm not this time. I think I've lost my train of thought now. What the fuck? Oh yeah.
You've lost a train of thought.
I'll text you.
Are the club satisfied with those 3 as the attacking options? Because as supporters, are we satisfied with those 3 as attacking options? They're going to be our striker options. I think personally you need one more. I think you need an out-and-out striker or a centre-forward. Which
to be honest, I think that's what Gu is. But what I think we'll probably do is we'll bring in a Loriente type player out wide. So
I wouldn't be shocked at all to see us spend another 25 to 30 million euros on another inside forward type player.
Well, that's what we do, man. That's what we are.
All we do is collect inverted wingers. That's all we do. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the kind of the last marquee signing be one of those inside forward attackers, and then Gu is the one who we bring in up front as an option to save a bit of the money so we can prioritise, because let's all be honest, we need defenders.
So we're saying that Abdullahi, however you say his name, is he not included in this? Is he not playing next?
I think he'll go out on loan probably.
I wouldn't be shocked to see him on loan.
We've got 15 players to get rid of as well.
Yeah, that's the other. I think all the focus is get on signing players, and I think, to be honest, that's.
Fucking off, like.
I think today the takeaways are the same as what they've probably been for a few weeks. We need a centre half at least.
We don't need a centre half. I can't
desperate
sleep at night thinking about our centre half situation.
We're beyond need. We're into we're going to physically die as a club if we don't get a centre back in the next week.
Well, Jensen Seelt wasn't even in the squad today, and they're probably just managing his minutes. He was there, he was in the crowd and stuff, but
even that's a worry though. If they're managing his minutes still at this point, this close to the season, you're like, well, you obviously are not going to be able to play every game in the Premier League, so somebody's got to come in.
Yeah, so same questions really coming away from it. We need a centre half. We probably need another attacking player. Midfield's brilliant. I think that's other positives. Reinildo, nice to see him get it.
Solid, so tidy, doesn't he?
Yeah. To see he was out of position as well, playing at centre half instead of playing at left back. I thought he looked really, really promising.
Just a nice to see him out on the field. Obviously, nice to see Xhaka out there. I think
Sadiki was excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've all waxed lyrical about
Let's do it again.
Pre-season, but let's do it again. That was his best game, I thought. Sadiki, he was fantastic.
But the other thing that we haven't really said yet is that we're trying to integrate a lot of footballers who have just come to the club. So it's not, if you're sitting going, well, why have we signed him? Why? Because there will be people watching, particularly because they're wide players and you're expecting attack output at Dingra and Talby. People are going to be watching them and saying, well, fucking hell, I don't know about them. My dad said it tonight, today he was like, I don't know if I'm too sure about them. I'm like, well, it all has to click at some point. You can't just expect it to click immediately, So we are trying to integrate a lot of players here, but I think more so, I think we've probably come away with more positives than negatives from this, even though we got beat. Like I say, I think with better refereeing, you probably win that game, So let's not get too sort of bogged down with the negatives. I think we've got another couple of games coming up. So anyways, you chaps are going to go and watch the Rangers game, aren't you? So your dad's itching. Your dad is itching to get away. So we will love you and leave you. But thank you very much, listeners. We'll be back with another pod tomorrow. We'll see you later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.